In the late 1800s, scientists observed that a certain illness would spread, and it led way to this germ theory of disease. But today we're witnessing a new paradigm. So I wanted to take a few minutes to go through the models of toxicity, because this is often why someone feels like toxins can't be a problem because all of our levels are safe. And our old paradigm, our old model for toxicity was called a dose-dependent model of toxicity, where a toxin can be labeled as safe or unsafe based on the dose needed to induce a reaction. So to assess safety, we would give an animal a toxin until we kill the animal. And then slightly less than that, than the lethal dose, is considered okay, which is not necessarily a great model. We know that mercury is shipped as toxic, but we would put a little bit, if you're old enough, back in the day, they'd put a little bit of mercury as a tooth filling, and we would call that okay. But a big amount shipping, oh, definitely toxic. And so this is really a model about quantity. If you have an acute dose of something, that's gonna be a big deal, but a little bit over time, as long as it's below that lethal dose, should not be a problem. And that's just not accurate. Our second model of toxicity is a buildup model of toxicity. And this is where a low quantitative dose may build up over time to create a reaction. And this is really what we're experiencing in today's world. We're inundated with toxins. And so the buildup over time is not just mercury, but it's pesticides, it's BPA, it's chemicals in our food, it is cleaning products, fire retardants, the list goes on and on. And so as an example, someone, maybe they live in a city and they have smog and they drink alcohol and they have new furniture that has fire retardants on it, and they eat a lot of large fish with high mercury like tuna. And so this is the slow poison model is what it is. It's a little bit from a lot of different areas over time creates this environmental burden. I always joke that when I drive through Ventura in the farms, is that I'll see workers head to toe in these white hazmat suits spraying our strawberry fields. They have to be in a suit because that acute dose of pesticides is not good for them, but yet it's going on the food that we eat every day. So this environmental load or toxicity, it will impact every cell. But it's important to know that cells that don't go through this post-mitotic division are going to be the most vulnerable, and these are the ones that can't regenerate, like brain and nerves. So I think this is partially why we've seen an uptick in conditions like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and developmental disorders like autism and ADD, because our brain cells, our nerve cells, are exceptionally sensitive to toxins. And then the last model of toxicity is an immune tolerance model, and it's the immune system reacting to the chemical irregardless of the dose. So if you don't tolerate perfumes, you walk down the laundry cleaning aisle and you have this reaction, this is an immune loss of tolerance. So reactions based on immune tolerance, they have found that these diverse demographic groups sharing little in common except from maybe a certain chemical exposure can develop an intolerance to a chemical, and it's brought along this new theory of disease referred to as toxin-induced loss of tolerance, or TILT. And TILT has the potential to explain many cases of asthma, migraine headaches, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue syndrome. There's a world-renowned immunologist, Dr. Vijdani, that has showed that 20% of normal healthy people can actually demonstrate immune reactivity to the chemicals. And so it's not just the exposure to the toxin that's the issue, but also a person's immune chemical tolerance. So immune chemical tolerance is using the same pathways as self-tolerance, which is the immune system's ability to differentiate self from non-self, or as what we might know as autoimmunity. And so the immune system in this scenario is actually making antibodies to the chemicals, just like it would make antibodies to a virus or to bacteria. The TILT, it's actually making antibodies to the chemical. So it doesn't matter if it's a giant load of that chemical or a tiny little bit of that chemical, the immune system can react to it. And this immune tolerance model of toxicity is also the model that explains why genetically modified food is not ideal. So to make a genetically modified food and make it pest resistant and make it more hardy, they will actually slice in DNA, sometimes from other organisms, from bacteria or viruses. And when you eat that food with the DNA from a bacteria or virus in it, our immune systems think it is a bacteria or virus, and it reacts with inflammation. It reacts like it was a cold or a flu. And so genetically modified foods for a lot of people create inflammation in the body. They are a problem.